Hey, I'm James from Smokin' Dad Barbecue, and today we're going to make an awesome strip loin roast. I'm going to take you to meet my butcher, dad pun totally intended, so we can learn a little bit more about this cut. I'm going to show you the process of how to dry brine it, make our own rub, and we're going to cook it nice and slow through a reverse sear on the Kamado Joe. So let's go inside a little bit early on when we get started on this roast. So I'm going to cook this tomorrow on Sunday, but we're going to get started today by letting this dry brine in the refrigerator overnight. If you never dry brine before, it's really simple. All you need is salt, and that's it, just salt. So I have some Diamond Kosher crystal salt that I'm using today. Any coarse sea salt will work just fine. You don't want to use table salt because that is too dense and will make the meat way more salty than anyone would want to eat. So we're just going to cover this liberally and then put it on a drying rack and put it in the fridge overnight when we're ready to season it up and fire up the Kamado Joe. If you never heard about strip loin roast before, you haven't had it, this is an awesome flavorful cut of meat. But to tell you a little bit more about it, I'm going to take you to earlier today when I got to hang out with Peter and his crew from J&G's, my local butcher in town, and he's going to show us how to prep and answer some questions that I had about the strip loin.
All right, so I reached out to Pete to understand I want to cook something new, and he had an idea for me. So tell me a little bit about what you had in mind.
So we're going to deal with strip loin roast. This is a prime strip loin, and with the holidays coming up, albeit maybe a little bit different this year, is a lot of people will do hams or they'll do prime rib roast or turkey. But let's have a look at something like a prime strip loin. It's already boneless. It's super tender, and we're going to prep it right now.
All right, so now that we're all prepped, tell us a little bit about what you were doing there.
So all I did was take a bit of the silver skin off the back, trimmed up the fat a little bit, trimmed the underside where usually when you bone it out, you have a little bit of gristle or some hard bone bits. So once this is cooked, it's ready to slice.
So how's this going to taste compared to something like a prime rib or a T-bone?
It's the same meat as a T-bone, so it's the boneless part of the T-bone. And because it's prime, you'll see a lot of marbling in there. There's a nice thin layer of fat on the outside while you're cooking it, and it'll be phenomenal.
All right, guys, our strip loin roast has been in the fridge, and we actually ended up doing a dry brine for 2 days, and this is looking good. So we hold that a little bit closer. I don't know if you can tell, but you get that dry, aged look to it. And so that's just from the salt going in the fridge and it's starting to penetrate the meat all the way through, and it dries that out. Now, because we've dried out the outside of our meat a little bit, if we were just to throw some rub on there, it won't stick, right? So if I were to pick that up and throw it on, it's falling right off, and we don't want that. So to help, we need a bit of a binder. So this one might surprise you, but I like using hot sauce as a binder. You will not taste this once it's done cooking, but it adds a little bit of umami flavor. So if you've never tried it, you've always used something like olive oil or duck fat spray or something like that as a binder, go ahead and try some hot sauce. I promise you'll be surprised with how that works out. So I'm going to throw down a layer of hot sauce on the strip loin roast as our binder. We're going to mix together our rub. And so I've got 2 tablespoons, I'll put the exact information in the description below, 2 tablespoons of garlic, a tablespoon of dried parsley and oregano, a tablespoon of celery seed and black pepper, and a little bit of smoked paprika. So we're going to mix that all up and put it on top of our sirloin. And then we're going to insert our meter probe so we can monitor everything remotely on our phone. I've already fired up the Kamado Joe and I've set it up for indirect grilling. We're going to be trying to run around 220 degrees, and I'm going to put this roast right on the top position. And I'm using a little bit of peach wood for smoke. I'll tell you a little bit more about why I chose peach wood once we're outside and we're ready to throw this on the Kamado Joe. Let me take you fast forward while we get this ready. All right, so we've got this roast all rubbed up and ready to go. I'm just gonna go ahead and insert our meter probe you've never seen one of these before, I love this guy because I can pair it right to my phone and get updates. And I can even set what temperature I want. It'll give me an alarm and estimate how long it'll take. But the real reason this is the champ and I picked it up is because it's great for the rotisserie. And so if you haven't seen any of my rotisserie videos, I'll be doing a few more of those. I'll be recording over the coming weeks, and I'll show you just how this is so handy. We've got wires that would otherwise get all tangled up. So just to insert it, there's just a little line on there that says insert past this point. That's it. I'm going to go ahead, find the midpoint of our roast, slide it in, and this is ready to go on. So you might have noticed that I've placed the roast fat cap side down. There's a lot of different opinions on how to set up or which way to put your fat cap, or if you have a fat cap at all. In general, I like using it as a bit of a buffer. Some people say put the fat cap on top, which is if you're using an offset or a pellet smoker and you have the heat coming up and over, you might want to protect the top of the roast. On a Kamado style cooker, we have the heat coming up from the bottom, and so I think this will render out even better when it's on the bottom. But the roast is going to be higher up in the grill, so it's going to have radiant heat from the dome coming all the way around. So we will cook this till it's about an internal temperature of 105 to 110 degrees. We're going to take it off, let it rest, and then we're going to set up for direct grilling and crank the heat to give this our sear. So I'm going to clean up. We'll meet you outside when we're ready to throw this on the Kamado Joe. All right, now that we've got our roast all seasoned up, you can see the Kamado Joe is running behind me just about 230 degrees. And so what I did to build our fire is I took a smoking chunk of wood, put it right on the bottom, added the charcoal on top, lit our big block. If you've seen any of my other videos before on how to get heat in the dome, I like to start with our divider plates open and wait till we hit the desired temperature. Then I push those plates together and slide the bottom draft door down to about 2 fingers apart. We've got the top on the number 1 position, and that's going to hold just under that 230 to 250 degrees, depending on your ambient temperature. But in general, that works really well. So we're going to go ahead now and throw this on and then go connect our meter probe so we can keep an eye on our cook. So just place that on the middle of the grill, and we are ready to let this go. I'm guessing it'll be somewhere between an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours at this temperature. But we'll keep an eye on our phone and go from there. All right, we're about an hour and a half in and our roast has just crossed over 105 degrees. I'm gonna go ahead, pull it off and put it in a foil pan and just loosely tent it and take it into rest for a bit while we crank the heat on the Kamado Joe. At this point, you could crank it right away and it'd be fine to sear it, but we're just buying a little bit of time to finish up our other veggies. So I'll just try and stop that noise from the tinfoil blowing in the wind. So you can adjust this amount of time, but in general, looking for a couple minutes rest while we crank the heat. And then I'm gonna give this a proper minimum 20, don't touch it, once it's all said and done. Let me bring you a little closer so you can see what it looks like. All right, let's go take a look. Oh, I wish you had smell-o-vision for that. That smells awesome. Okay, so you can see we've got some herbs on our crust. We want to be gentle with those when we sear, not to completely burn them, but the outside is looking great. And so this roast was sitting up high in the dome in our Kamado Joe, sitting on our extended grid, and that's just so we get the radiant heat coming all the way around. So let's check our temperature. Now we've bought a few minutes, so we're 113. That's pretty good. I'm happy with that. So this is continuing to carry on. I'm going to put the camera down so I can go hands-free, and then we're going to get it into our foil pan and just loosely tent that. All right, while our striploin roast is resting inside, it's time to get the Kamado Joe ready for hot and fast direct grilling. Let me bring you a little bit closer so you can see how I'm going to do that. Okay, you're going to want some high heat gloves so we can handle those diffuser plates no problem. But we're not going to need the top rack, the grill extender. And I'm going to go ahead and actually remove the grids. And then pull out our 2 diffuser plates. Go pull out our X-ring accessory. Let's do the middle. So just that moment of indecisiveness there. is based off of just looking at how much charcoal we have and how close the protein's going to be to the fire. And I was a little bit worried early on that if I had overfilled the basket and it was packed, that the lower position would be too close. But we only added a couple pieces of big block, and there's at least a couple inches gap. So once these are fully lit and flaming, I think that'll be about the right clearance. So we're gonna open up our bottom draft door, open up our top vent, and let the Kamado Joe come up to searing temperature. All right guys, I wanna thank you for hanging out for today's cook, where we've dry brined, seasoned, reverse seared our sirloin steak. It's time to take it inside and slice it up. I want to give a special thanks to Peter and the crew from J&G for inviting us in for a little behind the scenes in terms of how they prep and prepare these roasts for sale. I learned a lot through that, and I really appreciate them for giving me a behind the scenes tour. And time for the video for the mandatory plug. If you haven't already, please hit that like and subscribe to catch future videos. Really appreciate you hanging out, and until next time, we'll see you then.